Everest obviously is over-commercialised now. Mountain guiding has been around since mountaineering has been around. The Swiss guides leading the old people in the knickerbockers and the long tweed skirts and all the rest up the mountains in the Alps. That's been around from the very beginning. And so there is certainly a place for guided climbing. Everest has now, and mountain tourism in the Himalaya has now become such an enormous industry, and it's wonderful that it's bringing good money, good income to that impoverished region. But when these countries accept money from people to be guided in that environment, then I believe they must also accept the responsibility that comes with taking the money. And so Everest is overwhelmed now by the numbers of expeditions, commercially led expeditions. And I don't see it as a major problem that most of the people going on those expeditions are quite inexperienced, because you can cope for that with sufficient guides, highly trained guides and support staff to get them up, and you manage it appropriately. One of the problems is the unfettered aspect to date of just as many people who can afford to buy the permit are allowed to go there now. So there are hundreds upon hundreds of climbers going there with all the hundreds upon hundreds of support staff, predominantly Sherpas. And so the mountain is overwhelmed. There's not enough room in the camps. There are fights because people get in the way of each other, use each other's camps, people use each other's tents, and you have this massive chain of people ferrying supplies up and down the mountain, as well as the climbers themselves going up and down, who are all being exposed to the very high risks, the objective dangers of these mountains, the crevasses, the serac collapses, the altitude, the avalanches, and that is not being managed. And unfortunately, there are so many support staff needed now to support those commercial groups that there are more and more local Sherpa people doing the work, but without the skills and the experience to do it. And in the group that fixes the rope through the ice falls now for those commercial expeditions, this last season there wasn't a single qualified guide. And so the ropes aren't necessarily being put in the safest places, they're being put in the easiest places, which leads to conga lines of people and bottlenecks in dangerous locations, which is why 14 or 16 Sherpas were killed in that terrible accident last year. Unskilled people, unable to assess the dangers that they're in, supporting this industry. And I think as long as the government is accepting money from expeditions, both foreign and local are accepting the money, then they have an obligation to regulate it, to limit the numbers, to require levels of skill amongst the guides and levels of training, and limit the numbers of expeditions and foreign paying clients. Otherwise, you would reasonably expect that there will be more accidents up there, and large accidents.